Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Mitchell Tinley here, your host, and we got Callan the Rockstar Potter joining us to break down basically every Australian MMA card that we know of so far. Callan the Rockstar Potter, of course, a UFC veteran and Australian MMA nerd. You can follow him at calpot_UFC. Now, the main preview is for this weekend, February 10th, at HBF Stadium in Perth, Eternal MMA 82. Quillan Salkilld taking on Dom Marfan 2. Quillan defending his belt. And of course, Rod Costa defending his Eternal MMA Bantamweight Championship against Alan Philpott in a grudge match of the year, plus a slew of other fights. Now, other fights were scheduled. We're going to talk about those for the card. We're of course going to talk about some of the other cards announced. Hex Fight Series 29, Harry Webb, Abdalla Biyada for the lightweight belt. Kit Campbell, Matt Vale, some other fights in there too. XFC 71, we've got Aaron Tao, Vendy, Sam Dot, so many other fighters are going to be on that. XFC looking like they're going to have a really big 2024. And Beatdown Promotion 6, Damian Brown, another former UFC veteran with some cracking fighters up there. Jake Piper, Stewie Nickel. Look, very, very excited for that one. Look, we don't cover all the fights. We don't get as in-depth as we would like because we just only have so much time. So we touch on those a little bit, but the main one we focus on is the main card of Eternal MMA 82, which will be Feb 10th. We break that down to the best of our knowledge and to the best of our opinions. So if you want to get involved, Australian MMA _ on Instagram. Let me know your thoughts. And of course, like, share, download, subscribe, and make sure you hit up Calpot. That's CALPOT _UFC if you want to get involved with Callan Potter. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Callan the Rockstar Potter.
Thank you, mate. Happy 2024. G and keys.
How hard was it to not come together and have, because we do have to see our families, but how hard was it to not come together and talk about, I reckon every week since we stopped talking in 2023, there has been a huge announcement in Australian MMA.
Mate, it was sad. I was looking like someone having withdrawals, walking up and down, pacing on the same spot, going, I need to talk to Mitch. We need to discuss this.
What I love about it too is we don't even say, you'll just go, wow. And I know what you're talking about. You'll send me a message, you'll say, wow. And I'm like, yep, that's the one. What's the thing that stood out to you the most? Whether it's a fight announcement, whether it's a promotion going to another country, what is the thing that stood out to you the most?
I reckon the thing that's standing out to me more than anything in the current climate of Australian MMA is the willingness to be active for high-level fighters. So I remember you and I having discussions for a while talking about how, with the avenues now to the higher leagues, to the international leagues being a lot clearer, as those guys get to that upper echelon of the local scene, they might just put the brakes on a little bit and wait. Doesn't seem to be happening at all. People are keen to fight. They want to get in there and mix it up.
I feel like with the announcement of the Harry Webb Abdalla Biyada fight for Hex Fight Series 29, that rings true with what you said, because Abdalla Biyada, I feel like he's a featherweight challenging for the lightweight belt to be a double champ against Harry Webb. Harry Webb, on an absolute tear to then get that opportunity. That makes sense. But Abdalla taking that fight, I feel like a lot of people are like, why? We all still want to see it, but you're risking it all.
It doesn't, if he wasn't scary enough, he's just a marauder, he can fight for 5 rounds, he can submit you, he can knock you, he can cut, and then he's willing to go, I'll jump up and fight this up-and-coming juggernaut that no one, even the upper echelon lightweights probably don't want to fight. I'll fight him. Does that not just make him even scarier?
I feel like it's great. He's one of those guys that was never, he wasn't the Harry Webb coming up. He was like the guy that kind of had to really earn it. He was probably the underdog against Josh Kuhn earlier on in his career. He's probably the underdog against all these guys. And he's just come out and whooped them all. And so to see him take this fight, like I said, you're gambling it all, but it just shows like how much of a gangster he actually is.
Spot on. Gangster 101. And he's coming from, his coach is coach is an original gangster. So obviously, he's trying to get his black belt in gangsterism, and this is one of the very quick ways to do it.
Yes, of course, the great Steve Kennedy. I'm really liking that a lot of guys are starting to, just speaking on the sport of the whole, of course, all your fighters matter. But I love when, like, Ben Vickers, you got the amazing scrappy MMA stable, but then you get Jack Della, which is the shining light. And I feel like that's happening now for Steve a little bit as well. He's got some nice fighters around, but now he's got that Abdalla Biyada, which could take him to the moon. And as you know, as a fighter and now as a coach, you kind of do need that fighter to take you and the whole team to that next level.
Yeah, spot on. You need someone to carve that path. And there's no coincidence that you see it happen in a lot of gyms. You know what I mean? That one guy, that one shining light, carves his way through, and suddenly there's people behind him. There's happened a lot of city kickboxing. Had a lot of PMA with Rob Whittaker. Then he had the Malcoon follow him, and you know what I mean. Even with our group back with the Dad's Army crew, he had that person carve the path. And he goes, I see how it gets done now. I can also do that.
And before we get into, of course, this weekend's card, Eternal MMA, Feb 10th, HBF Stadium, to kick off the major sort of promotion fight cards for the year, how scary is March looking? Like, are the promotions going to war?
I don't know. Possibly, but we're getting all the benefits, so have at it. I might start sending texts from fake promotion accounts just to stir it up even more. So they just throw on more high-level fights.
And I'm loving the fact that, like, promotions are actually like, we're about to speak about Eternal MMA 82, but we had that Alden Bates, Caleb Rideout bout ready to go. That falls through because of an injury. And then Hex, I swear once upon a time there used to be like hey, no, that's your fight. I won't touch that fight. Now they're going, nah. These guys want to fight. These people want to see them. It's like the Monday Night Wars, but for like MMA promotions. And I'm all for it, Callan Potter.
It's SmackDown versus Raw, mate. We're on here, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
And I'm hearing some word which I won't say what it is because I don't have enough confirmation from it. But Old Eternal does not take that lying down. I think they have some big plans which would look like a fire back for that. So look, I know that there's something probably in the pipeline.
Are you turning over a new leaf for 2024, Mitch? Just not jumping straight on things. And do we both have to do this now? Am I not allowed to just make crazy announcements?
You know what's funny? I don't know what I do know and what I don't know anymore. And someone's like, because people love doing the whole like, oh, here you go. Here's this like hot take, but don't. I know how you and Callan Potter are. Don't talk about it. And I'm like, okay. And then I get here and I go, did they say talk about it or not talk about it?
Did they give me the all clear on that? I reckon they probably did.
Yeah, unsure. But before we jump fully over to Eternal, I do just want to, XFC looks like it's going to be a major player in 2024, the Aaron Tao fight. I believe Vendy's back. They've got some really, really great fights on the card. Have you been keeping an eye on the XFC cards at all?
Yeah, so it's Vendy and Brights. That's going for the middleweight titles. That sound about right?
Yes, very much so.
Bright's obviously got a lot of his trade blight at lightweight. He's obviously, he was always a big lightweight, and he's got welterweight's probably a more healthy weight class for him, and then up at middleweight again. He's going to be undersized. He's probably going to be the underdog, but he's a dangerous man, dangerous on the feet, dangerous on the ground. You know what I mean? He's snapped on arm bars to people. He's choked them. He's knocked them out. So he's quite capable everywhere. But look, Darcy Vendy's on a very bit of a tear. He's getting a good rub off Johnson as well. So that's a pretty heavy stable down there at the moment.
And like we said, City Kickboxing, the Aaron Tao, Dan Hooker obviously takes a UFC. Dan Hooker has a good friendship with Aaron Tao and has been guiding him the long way, which I kind of like. There's a lot of the big team of City Kickboxing. There's kind of like some smaller teams within that, which you're starting to see, which I like. The older guard helping out the newer guard coming through against Shane Parker. That's going to be a cracker. And then even Sam Dobbs, Sam Miles.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring that one up. I'm really excited about that one. I've seen Miles up close. He's going to be a good unit, very good grappler. You wouldn't call him a power puncher, but his boxing's very clean, really clean boxing for someone that really wants to apply their trade in grappling. He keeps his boxing very clean, which is very difficult to work with when someone wants to take you down. Dobb, who AKA Duke Didier's son, is obviously very strong, very capable of himself. So that's a great fight. I'm very interested to see what happens.
I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, Sam Miles as well. I think the son of the Deputy Prime Minister at some point, which is always good for Australian
That's
MMA
right.
news. It's always a nice little crossover where it's like, look, politics and this esteemed like society and also MMA, and we can all get along.
Man, it's marriage made heaven, mate. Strawberries and cream.
I love it. And a Beatdown, we'll just that's March 9th, I believe, Beatdown 6. That's going to be a good one. Stewie Nickel back in the cage and Jake Piper as well back in the cage, who's a very esteemed amateur, finally getting his professional debut. You would have to say that with the announcement of Sean Gauchi dropping the bantamweight belt at Hex, coming down to flyweight, surely we're going to see a Stewie Nickel and Gauchi fight in the future.
That's a ripper. That's got to happen. You know what I mean? Like, your Nickel was looking a little bit bare with his options to go where to next. Now with Gauchi down in that weight category, that's a creamy one. That is very deep.
And I feel like flyweight was kind of forgotten a little bit as well. And like we said, featherweight was the most entertaining about a year ago. We're now looking at, the bantamweights and the flyweights doing a cracker of a job, which of course, as we just duck over to Hex for a minute, the Paul Logar, Cody Haddon bantamweight title fight. I feel like Logar has never felt more relevant. He's earned it. He's deserved it. He'll fight anyone on 24 hours notice. Don't let the record fool you. And then, of course, Cody Haddon. Cody Haddon needs to show up, not as a performance, just, like physically. His biggest foe has been injuries. So if we can see that, look, that's going to be a cracker of a bout as well.
Yeah, again, Logar's nobody's fault. Particularly in MMA, you can't breathe onto records. You know what I mean? There's so many ways to win and lose. He is absolutely able to mix with anyone in this country.
And I promise we will get on to Eternal MMA 82 very soon, but there was just so much news to catch up on. I want to give you the floor, and I want your thoughts on the Alden Bates, Jono Mikulev, Hex Fight Series 29, the welterweight title fight.
Yeah, I got in contact with you pretty quick after that one. I had very mixed emotions. You know what I mean? I'm very, I've worked a lot with Jono. Such a rap for him. I was so keen. Again, it was a mixed act because I'm so close to him. And I'm like, man, he's done enough. I'd love to see him now fly off into the sunset, get his international go. Whether he's had word back or not, whether they've asked him to stay, I don't know. But all I'm reading from it is that bloke just wants to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And instead of going, I'll pick someone around this mid-range, he just grabs the big, massive Alden Bates who just brings absolute coconuts with everything you throw. It just again, you talk about Biyada being a gangster. McCall's, double gangster as well. So, look, that's crazy. And, again, he will go into that fight as the favourite. You could never count out Alden Bates. Alden Bates, you could put him in the highest level in the world, and he's got a chance in any fight that he's in.
Yeah, and taking that fight with Alden Bates, it won't just affect your career. That could affect your life. I feel like he could knock out anyone in the world.
Spot on.
And, man, I nearly let her slip. Matt Vale, Kit Campbell.
I'm really happy with that one. I'm very, very, very happy with that. Great rematch. In how long? 6-7 years in the making or longer?
Yeah, 6 years. 6 years.
6. Okay, yep, beautiful. I was all against. You know what I mean? And it sounds like I'm bashing Matt Vale here. Big rap for Matt Vale. He's done a great amount of work. But to give a man that's been so inactive, again, I don't live in the man's pocket, so I don't know how hard it's been for him to get a fight. It might not be his own doing, but you can't give a man that's been that inactive a shot straight at that title. That would have been, you know what I mean? That would have been a rough going for the current champion. So that's the best move. Getting back in, geez, you get a win over Kit Campbell. That, you can pretty much say anything. Vice versa, Kit gets himself a win. He's overtraining at Bali MMA alongside John Martin Fraser at the moment. Big Kyle Noak. That's a pretty handy team over there. He gets his win. He rematches the revenge match. It puts him straight back in the title picture too.
Mate, it's so tricky because, like you said, John Martin Fraser versus Ben Johnson. I think that's March 16th, Eternal MMA 83. Once again, one wins, you could go on to the UFC. Like, it's just everyone is knocking at the door, but only so many can get through.
Yeah, spot on. But I love it. But it's just the local scene at the moment for a couple of nerds like yourself and I, mate, it's heaven. It's just heaven. Not only because there's so much going on, the promotions are putting on amazing fights, the level of MMA, the level of fighters. You know what I mean? It might sound like I'm trying to be a little bit modest, which I'm sure not too many people that know me would accuse me of. But I'm not sure I'd be wanting to kick around in the current climate of Australian MMA, mate. There's a lot of people that could really make you have a bad day with the level of fighting going on at the moment.
And look, the level of fighting as we transition over to Eternal MMA 82, never can you get a card like this that has fallen apart. Like this card could have been the greatest card in the history of Australian MMA, and it had 4 title fights scheduled, and then it falls down right, and you look at the card that it's got right now, it could still be card of the year, and it's been like ravaged with some injuries.
Yeah, that's some pretty strong depth, I'd reckon.
Oh,
That's some pretty good depth.
Look, it starts out with Deatta and an international flying in, Jong Hwan Lee, who I think could be Korean top team. I know because when I posted the fight, the great Cam O'Neill sent me a little message and he said, by the way, Mitch, wrong Koreans. That's how much.
Oh, Mitch, you haven't done yourself any favours there, mate.
No, I haven't at all. But no, it was
trying
very
to push into a Korean market here as well. That's not doing us any favours.
It's not good at all. But look, I'm excited to see Deatta get back out there because he's been in the cage with John Martin Fraser before. He is a hell of a striker, great Muay Thai background, and of course he had Fight of the Year. I think it was awarded by Eternal with Samad from Absolute MMA. Like Deatta's a hell of a fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, like you said, really balanced Muay Thai, sensational. Obviously, wants to apply most of his trade there. As soon as we start mixing too much of that heavy ground game to it, it puts him off a little bit. But I'm sure he is absolutely busting his backside to close that part of his game as well. But look, he's one of those guys. He's almost up to that West Capper sort of thing. It doesn't matter. You put him in there with that angry chicken from Family Guy. You're happy because he's just always going to bring a fight.
Yeah, these are always weird ones, and you know that they're quality opponents, but even without knowing even what the guy looks like, according to my post, I still have Deatta by knockout. Like it's just what how do you not? And it those fights are always tricky. You've fought guys like that before where they fly in an international, and it's like there's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, spot on because you get you get the win, and it's just like it's like when you're up to level 5 of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Nobody really knows who that guy is, but you get, you're sort of upping the level. You know what I mean? There's not a lot added to your story.
And look, there's another fight that's very, very similar a little bit later on the card, which we'll get to. I mean, you mentioned Wes Kappa, but up next is Julian Guistiniano versus, I think it's Marwan Rahiki. I think he's from Lion's Den. I think he's a late replacement for, is it Lion's Den? He's a replacement for Chris Ustadnikowski. Sorry, I have CTE when I speak. Chris, you know the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, they're a couple of newbies, yeah?
Yeah.
A couple of new guys, just sort of building their name again. I still like these sort of guys because especially when you have a big card like this with a lot of experienced guys on the real fresher guys that are only like the 1-0s or the 0-1s or the 2, like even the 2-0s, they're trying to build a name so that they almost have a chip on their shoulder going, well, I'm going to come out and show who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even when we do things like what we're doing right now, like these fighters, like you're a fighter if you're on like an Eternal MMA 82 preview card and you get 7 seconds talked about you. You're like, it puts a little bit of like, you're like, I'm gonna make you remember. And look, yes. What I do know about Julian, trains at a similar jiu-jitsu school to which I frequent every now and then, Bravos. Under the great Rodrigo Duraz, who used to work with Evolution back in the day. So they were like a
nice
team. And he's in Division 1, I think it's Division 1, college wrestler. So, look, that should be a grappling focus from Julian. And I do think Marwan is a bit more of a striker. So, a bit of an old school match up there. Although
bit of old school UFC style.
I could also be completely wrong. I didn't even know what Korean it was. Fifth fight left on the card. We've got Toby Meech, who's kind of had a bit of resurgence, versus Daniel Mitchell, who has, I think, still back-to-back fights booked, Eternal MMA 82 and Eternal MMA 83.
Yeah, I did see that. That's such a rare occurrence. Like that used to happen a fair bit back in the day, and people used to get sort of a little bit disrespected by it, but it doesn't happen as much anymore. But Mitchell's like, I don't care. I just want to fight. Get around me.
Yeah, I mean, I asked him and he just goes, well, like it's what I used to do as an amateur. It's what I do at training. Like fighters fight. Why wouldn't I be ready? It's a month in between.
Yep. You know what I mean? Again, I'm only giving my answer as far as a fan. I just like to see guys fight. If I was a promoter, I might have a different response. You know what I mean? If I was the guy who, because he's booked. Who's the second fight booked with?
It's still Eternal. So
they're both Eternal.
Yeah, it's back to back Eternal.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, they're, unless Cam's booked one and Ben's booked the other, then they're gonna be real mad at each other.
Yeah, that is true. It is because it's Queensland and WA. So maybe I think I've still got it written here. We've got James Sargerson. I don't know if it's still on, but yeah, Toby Meech 5-2 and James Sargerson, who's 0-2. That's 82 versus 83. So interesting.
Nice. Good little startup. That's going to be a good little build up in that card.
Yeah, I'm liking the talent there. Dan Mitchell, of course, recently took on I think Cooper Royale at Eternal MMA 78 in Sydney, and that was like he's a good fighter. Speaking of good fighters, a man I spoke to yesterday, your favourite, the People's Champ, Wes Kappa. He's going to be taking on Seong Chan Hong, who is from Korean Top Team. Was probably the guy I posted originally.
Did you get him right?
Probably. He goes, well, you don't have to with Wes Kappa because apparently this is his second opponent as well in the lead up. And I think last event he had 3 or 4. Like, he's a guy that just... You have to fly internationals in now to fight him.
Yeah, again, I reckon Cap will even know who's fighting until he's standing across the cage and could care less. You better mention how he is one of my favourites when you interviewed him. As I'm seeing, I've got to obviously have a watch of your interview with Mr. Wes. You better have dropped him and just let him know that Callan Potter's sending him lots of love. But I did manage to look up his Korean Top Team opponent, and as much as he's an international, I can tell you what, doesn't look like he's pulled him off the farmyard. This guy's got really good experience. I believe he's a 9-2.
Yeah.
Just fresh off a road to UFC bout. Has a win over UFC alum Will Cope. So legit contender. The thing that's worried for him, he did lose his last bout via knockout. So you know that's not the sort of run you want to come into when you're coming up against someone like a Wes Kappa.
There does seem to be a bit of a sister school situation building between Eternal and Korean Top Team, which I kind of like because the guys are road to UFC. I know that they're focusing on that a little bit with the UFC. Like it's nice to see, like, because we like the narrative. So even if it is at international fights, if we can get to know some of these Korean Top Team guys, it's going to mean that little bit more to us.
Yeah, beautiful. And this, I'm correct, this is at the lightweight division.
Correct. This is, I think, his official action because he needed at least one at lightweight to kind of even know if he could make it.
Well, the storyline plays itself. He goes out there, gets the job done, which, I mean, I think I can be pretty pretty biased in this one because I can be. Wes Kappa goes down there, knocks our Korean mate out, gets straight on the mic, and just lays it down like a WWE promo. It's exactly how you got the title going out in the main event that same night. That the storyline plays itself.
You know, my opinion on that one is I think Wes Kappa gets a title shot after this, but not on Eternal. Jack Becker is next in line, and he will probably stay next in line. And he won't fight each other. He won't, even if, not that would be ever be offered, but even if Ben Vickers and Cam said, hey, you got to step over Jack Becker to get it, he wouldn't do it. So... But then again,
why are you going to put my two favourites up against each? Why are you going to put that? I was getting so excited about a Wes Kappa promo,
but it could still happen because there's another promotion that doesn't have a lightweight champion. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. This is just playing out of my head as we speak. Okay, just reading the tea leaves into the current landscape. Wes Kappa does that, knocks out a Korean mate, jumps on the mic. I am willing to go here, there, and everywhere. I will knock anyone out. Skip forward a couple of weeks. We get Hex happen somehow. Either one. I was about to say one way, but it could have been either way. Let's go this way. Just say, Webb, too big, too strong, manages to get hold of Biyada, becomes the Hex lightweight champ. He gets on the mic, goes, I'll take that Wes Kappa guy. Young, fit, strong Harry Webb, experienced, skilled, savvy Wes Kappa.
Oh, I like that. I do like that.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Wes Kappa's...
That is for a title, isn't it?
Yeah.
Webb v. Biyada.
Yeah, I actually weirdly forgot about it about 5 minutes ago. But like it's a weird one because it's been vacant for so long. Wes Kappa is stuck in this. He's like an Elliot Compton. Like he's like a Khan Deatta. Like he's stuck in this almost like the money fight. Like it's like you don't even put them in the division anymore because they're cutting lines. You're making super fights over here because it's just that's who they are and they've sort of earned it. Speaking of this, though, I do know that he has a boxing match lined up in May, I think it is.
That would be Mr. Wes Kappa?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a busy man and he doesn't mind. He plies his trade in everything. How long has it been? Because obviously he made his name quite big in the Thai fight world too. And how long has it been since he had his last Thai fight?
I think like 10 years. I think he said, he goes, I'm not doing that again because I don't want to get kicked.
Yeah, no. No, I'm telling you right now, I had 30 plus MMA fights and they had moments in there. I had one Thai fight. That is the sorest and the most injured I've ever pulled up in my life.
Oh yeah. I think it's the toughest sport because at times it's beautifully elegant at times as well, but sometimes it can get very you go, I go, whoever falls down first with leg kicks. Oh. And you just look at it and you go, that's not for me.
Yeah, especially when you're like your defense is not your number one quality. You just walk into bones for 5 3-minute rounds. Bloody hell, give that. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, but I'd give that a miss for another time around.
Well, anytime the kind of to get better at the sport and get your conditioning up is to like hit your shins with bricks. It's always a no from me.
Pick a new sport.
Oh, mate, but that's going to be a cracker that could have, performance of the night written all over it. We then move into the 2 title fights coming out for Eternal MMA 82. It was going to be 4, which I'll just go through them. The ones missing were the Alden Bates, Caleb Rideout, which would have been, fight of the year. Alden Bates, of course, moving on to fight Mikolev as Crazy Horse got hurt. We then also have Drillich was going to fight, multiple people. They ended up having to bring in an international. To give him more time, they've moved that to Eternal MMA 83, March 16th. So I do like that as well because Drillich will fight anyone. And I like that he's been given a bit more time, which I like that.
Yeah, Drillich has gangster qualities too. We do like the way Drillich gets about it.
Oh, amazing. But it's our fight that we have been so excited for. The bantamweight title, the Eternal MMA Bantamweight Championship, Rod Costa defending the belt against Alan Philpott.
Yeah, mate. How long has it been? What do you reckon? What was the last grudge match, like legit grudge match we've had on Australian soil before? Lately. I'm trying to think. It's been a hot minute.
It would have been.
This is a legit grudge match.
Would have been Steve Kennedy, Dan Kelly if it ever happened.
Geez, that would have been the biggest of all time. Biggest of all time.
I actually can't remember. Last real grudge match.
We definitely have. But I tell you what, it has been a hot minute, and Philpott has made sure that this is just getting all the rounds as far as grudge match. It's notoriety.
And like he blows up my phone constantly. So whenever I post anything to do with Eternal, Philpott is like, nah, I'm still going to be the main event. Nah, I'm going to be fight of the night. You have no idea what this performance is going to be. Like, it's like I've never seen a man. Like, I'm not even fighting him, right? And I am getting, like, bombarded. And I'm loving it because it's like I've never seen Philpott so motivated. And I've talked to both of them, right? And I love Rod Costa. And he's got a bit of a more relaxed demeanor. Rod's got a scathing, like, he can cut you down with the most, like, vicious words, but he says them so calmly.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rod's the champ right now, and I know he's probably only got a couple left in him. He maybe wants to be a featherweight champ and all that sort of stuff, and he's got all the skills, but there's a bit of me that thinks like he doesn't seem as, and I don't want it to come off disrespectful at all and say he's not hungry, but do you know what I mean? It's like he's got this like, not the whole like it's hard to go for a run when you sleep in silk sheet style, but like he's made it. If he retired tomorrow, we still remember Rod as being one of the best ever type thing.
Yeah.
Where Philpott needs that moment.
Yeah. Do you think, because I think you've spent a lot more time alongside him than I have, Is that just his natural personality? He seems to me from
It is.
external view, he's a pretty relaxed cat.
Yeah, he is. And look, I'm probably just creating this in my own head. Like I'm just sort of like where I guess it's probably less about Rod. And I'm probably putting the last two losses or whatever kind of in there as well. And then of course Philpott's got all this motivation recently. So maybe I'm being sort of a bit biased that way, and kind of I'm buying into kind of what Philpott's selling type thing. But I've never seen Philpott look more motivated. Sorry, sound more motivated. And I guess Rod's been off Instagram. Like it's like I'm just not hearing as much from him. So maybe it's just me being kind of like swayed by kind of the almost like recency bias.
But that style of guy, and Philpott's definitely that style. He loves to be in extrovert when it comes to his fight game. That's what they do. They do it really well. We talked about the original gangster Steve Kennedy. He did that really well back in his day too. And some people don't get into it. I don't think that is Rod Costa's sort of game. The thing is, what would sway me to think the other way is I've always seen him be the way he is now, leading into most of his fights, and he still fights like an animal. Yeah. You know what I mean? That guy gets down. You know what I mean? Again, it can be very much swayed because, when you ever talk about Rod Costa coming off 2 losses in a row. So, that can be quite telling too. But, I wouldn't be as worried. I think he's quite motivated. And if he wasn't, Philpott's made sure he's fed him enough motivation biscuits in the last 6 months to get him riled right up.
Yeah, look, and like I said, if Costa does win, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him back in there and by March 16th, and he's already trying to get the featherweight belt and whatnot, and Philpott. But then at the same time, either one of these boys, it feels like one big loss can really sort of sway them into maybe not seeing them again, and one more loss could see them try and be a double champ.
Yeah, anyone external to the sport would look at this and go, oh, this guy's had one win in how many fights, and this guy's coming off 2 losses. Like, why is this a big fight? It is definitely a big fight. Absolutely a big fight. Costa, coming off 2 losses at a higher weight class. I'm fairly sure he's still undefeated at bantamweight, but I'd be correct in saying that.
I think so, yeah.
I think that would be a correct statement. And then you turn to Philpott again. Yes, if you look at his record, I think I'm pretty sure he's 20-15.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people outside the sport would think that's amazing. Probably, as far as I've watched him, never looked better than he did in his last fight.
Exactly. And I think the problem too is Rod's gone up a weight class. He took on a guy that is now competing for Australia at ADCC in Ethan Thomas. And then he loses to a guy that's probably going to get signed to the UFC in Justin Van Heerden.
Yep.
It's like, it's hard to kind of knock Rod off. There's still 2 losses, but it's like when you look back on them, you're going to realize just how sort of great they were. It's like the Niam Stevens sort of thing. When you look back and you look at that record and, you fight Tom Nolan and then you fight Harry Webb and it's all that sort of stuff. It's like looking back, I'm probably going to like eat my hat when Rod goes on to become a double champ and he goes, can't believe you ever doubted me, Mitch. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I've never been, and I like both of them and I like to think I'm friends with both of them as well. So it's like, it's going to be a very, very hard fight, but also a very, very exciting fight for me to watch.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. I've got a feeling they're both uber motivated. They've got, you got the grudge match status to it as well. Like everything about this fight, 2 very skilled practitioners. I'm very pumped. There's no way that can't be a great fight.
And has anyone ever called you, or how would you take if someone ever called you a quitter? Because that is what Mr. Rod Costa has been calling Philpott.
Oh, really? Is that the stage back? Yeah, look, it's not a great thing to hear, particularly in our sport. Well, I don't. I'm trying to think of anyone, but I'm sure people have called me very, very nasty things. I don't think anyone's. Dan Kelly's probably called me a quitter 5 times a day, so if that doesn't count, then I can't remember an opponent ever throwing that one in my direction.
Oh, geez, it's a killer. Now, finally, we've got about 4.5 minutes before I get booted off the call. So give me your thoughts on Quillan Salkilld, Don Marfan 2 for the Eternal MMA Lightweight Championship.
Perfect matchup. Absolutely pumped for that. What excites me about this fight, I think Salkilld is just like uber level confidence at the moment. He is just riding high on confidence, so confident in his skills, so confident in his ability to just blow through. I think he wholeheartedly believes he is going to blow Marfan out of the water. I think that, and rightly so, he's just absolutely murking at the moment. He's just killing it. What I'm looking forward to if this happens this fight, again, I'm impartial in this fight, is a really hard, tough first round, and then they line up for that second, and Marfan is standing there, tall and strong, with a smile on his face. I'm like, you know what I mean? That, and a real moment for Salkilld going, okay, this is a fight. This kid is here to fight. Because I do believe Marfan's coming here to really make a point too. So I got goosebumps for this one.
Yeah, it does scare me. Marfan, I think, is incredible. And what he did last year was nothing short of amazing. Now, he has done basically no media leading up to this, and I have been peppering him, and he's like, nah, I'm staying on task, and, mate, I've got to respect that. Quillan Salkild's got the world on his shoulders. UFC Fight Pass, UFC ANZ on Instagram, they're sharing it, and they're building Quillan. Like, you can tell they're getting ready to take him over. Marfan has a chance to completely spoil the party. Now, I think if Marfan loses, he still has a chance, man, to make it to the UFC. Like 2 losses to Quillan, but then dominating everyone else. You're still going to have an amazing career. But go tell Marfan that there is not a single bit of him that thinks that's going to happen.
I don't think he's even thinking about that. I think he legitimately just wants to beat Salkilld. I think that's the number one thing. The belt, second, UFC, third, all that. He wants to legitimately beat Salkilld.
It's very true. That's very true. And I'm very excited because we could be, Don Marfan could shock the world type thing. And that team Compton, they're scary.
Aren't they just?
I'll let you go. I will be assuming we will be texting back and forth Feb 10th on UFC Fight Pass Eternal MMA 82. I'm very much looking forward to it. Before I let you go, give me who do you think is going to be fight of the night?
Fight of the night, Salkilld, Marfan.
Oof. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Callan, the Rockstar Potter. See you later, bye. In the most chauvinistic way possible and classic me form, I missed a fight at Eternal MMA 82. Now, I'll get Callan Potter to send in his thoughts, like 30 seconds of it. And I understand if everyone hates me after this, as you probably should, and I hope both the girls beat the shit out of me when they see me. But hey, look, when you do a live podcast and we only do one take, sometimes my potato brain, see, right there, can't even say it. Sometimes my potato brain gets fried. So, of course, there's an amazing fight at Feb 10th, Channel MMA 82. Look, it's going to be a good one. Amena Hadaya taking on Courtney Martin. Now, I'm really mad at myself for not bringing this up, and I do profusely apologize. And like I said, don't feel bad. Actually, no, do feel bad for me because they will both beat the shit out of me when they see me. Amena Hadaya, we've chatted to before, so do hit that interview up as well as Courtney Martin. Amena Hadaya, she fought for the, I think it was a strawweight, maybe the flyweight Hex Fight Series championship against Lisa Kiriakou. She did a cracker of a job there. She also trains out of the legendary freestyle MMA under Joe Lopez. And just a tough fighter, like great striking. She's probably got a bit out-grappled in the Kiriakou fight. But look, she's fought on UAE. She's got a big career, and especially in women's MMA, like you put a few wins together and all of a sudden you're getting some real opportunities. I mean, we've seen that with Sarah Collins. Of course, she had the Olympic background, or the Commonwealth Games background, but you get those opportunities. So Amena Hadaya, a couple more wins, and who knows, we could see her at the PFL in following in the footsteps of like a Chelsea Hackett, or maybe we see her at 1FC, very similar to Lisa Kiriakou, maybe even Casey O'Neill in the UFC. But Amena Hadaya, a real good fighter to watch. I think she's 3-2. Super exciting. So do check that fight out. And I'm not just saying that because she now has free license to fight me. But she'll be taking on Courtney Martin. Now, Courtney Martin, again, go check out the interview. She's had a pretty stellar amateur career. Trains out of Wolves Den in Perth under Steve Walton, who ironically, what we were talking about earlier, Alden Bates, who's fighting for the Hex Welterweight Championship, was going to fight for the Eternal Welterweight Championship. All you guys, and especially the girls, because it's my sleeper fight, it's going to be a cracker of a fight, and if it was just that fight, I would pay just to watch that fight. Do check it out though, guys. It's going to be a stellar card. Eternal MMA 82. Get it on UFC Fight Pass, or of course you can see it at HBF Stadium. I'm very sorry, girls. See you next time.
All right, as always, Mitch and I just get too caught up, too excited, and we always miss something. So of course, going past Hadaya and mine, which is just ridiculous. I've been dead excited to watch today, get her work done, and she is a scary individual. If I can go through my life without upsetting her, that's a much benefit to myself. And Martin, extremely distinguished amateur career, still struggling to find her feet in pros, but she's always going to bring a fight, so that's going to be an absolute bar burner. Both girls like to swing heavy knuckles, so no one can be excited. Mate, it's Eternal 82 card. I'm going to be sitting out here and in my back area enjoying it thoroughly. All right, guys, as I'm sure you will be. Catch you soon, guys.